I guess the question now is not just for tech, but is the economy in general, the bond market signaling anything to us right now that we have to be more concerned about than we were just a month ago? I mean, we were talking about the economy overheating really not that long ago.
Well, we are seeing the possibility of a slowdown. Yeah. We're definitely not seeing a possibility of a recession. So slowdown is quite different than a recession. And I actually think that for the tech sector, the GDP slowdown is not going to be that important. Most of these companies are making money from digital ads, which are now acquiring from traditional ads, and therefore a general slowdown will not really make a huge difference for them. But in terms of perceptions, one never knows how the market is going to perceive it.
Right, it might not make a difference to them too much in terms of their earnings growth, but in terms of what investors are willing to pay for those stocks, we never know.
You never know.
Yeah.
Paul, how do you think about this? Do you see this as potentially economic slowdown, or do you see that there could be higher risk of recession longer term, especially when you're looking at something like the bond market right now, and what does that mean for tech? I think we are having some technical difficulties with Paul. Paul, can you hear me?
I can hear you now. Sorry.
Okay, great. Your thoughts on tech right now, especially if we are poised for an economic slowdown or worse moving into 2019?
Yeah, I think tech already was in for a pretty exciting, probably more negative than positive 2019 in Washington. Things like privacy and antitrust and making these platforms liable maybe for user-generated content. These are all, and foreign interference in elections. These are all going to be topics, I think, in Congress next year regardless. If we get a recession, I think that does lead people to look for scapegoats, unfortunately, and I can think of a ton of scapegoats that are more justifiable than the big internet companies that have anything to do with a recession, but people look for scapegoats. And I think the problem possibly for the internet companies is that the Democrats have already started to lay the groundwork to say there's not been enough antitrust enforcement and regulation of the big internet companies, and that has allowed them to depress wages and not protect consumers adequately. And so if you do get a recession, if you do get a downturn, my concern would be that the intensity of the Democratic opposition to the tech companies ramps up next year.
Professor, do you think that observation holds up, that in fact these companies have either grown too big or the industrial structure of tech is ripe for dismantling in some sense?
Well, that would not be a good idea. These companies produce a lot and are crucial for the U.S. economy. I think what's going to happen in the next 6 months is that they're going to have a type of regulation, a type of privacy regulation, quite different from antitrust regulation, which has to do with market shares, but privacy regulation, making sure that our information as consumers that goes to Facebook or Google gets appropriately used. There is some transparency in the use. Who knows, maybe we even get paid a bit to give them the information, and then things are going to be different. I actually don't think that we need to interfere in terms of antitrust terms, but we definitely need to take care of the privacy issue, which has been there for 10 years, has not been dealt with.